One more classification of our variables has to do with determining the level of measurement. So what you see here is the four levels of measurement that we have for our variables. And then starting with the leftmost column over here is going to be the most basic, lowest level of measurement. And then as I move to the right, we're going to increase our level of measurement. So a nominal level of measurement over here on the left-hand side has to do with values of just a variable name, some sort of label, or to categorize it. So the last type of classification on our variables that we want to look at has to do with determining the level of measurement. So you see here there are four levels of measurement. The leftmost side, starting with the nominal, would be the most basic, and then as I move to the right, we're going to increase that level of measurement. So starting back on the very far left, when we think about a nominal level of measurement, a variable that is at that level is going to be values of the variable if the values of the variable name, label, or categorize. Okay, so if you have the values in that variable, if they're only naming, label, or categorizing, then you're just putting into a category, then this would be considered nominal. I like to think of nominal as no order. So in other words, the order doesn't matter. You can see that if I wanted to talk about, let's say, marital status, it doesn't matter if I say married, widowed, single, divorced, or if I rearrange that and put in there single, divorced, widowed, married. Doesn't matter what order those categories occurred in, so we kind of think of that as the most basic level. As we move to the next level, we have ordinal. Now, an ordinal level of measurement is going to be something that I could rank. So if I need to put it in order, that's going to be the ordinal level of measurement. So think about finishers in a race. First, second, third, that kind of thing. The order that they finished is obviously important, and therefore we have an ordered category. For the next level of measurement, interval, we are building on the two previous levels, but this time we are introducing the fact that the distance between my values has meaning, and it's constant. All right, so we have a constant value between our data. And then furthermore, we have what we would say as no true zero. So what does that mean? If I think about no true zero, let's talk about an IQ test. Or let's talk about a temperature first. If I say that there is no true zero, what I mean by that is, can I have 0 degrees temperature? So 0 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. Yes, it can be 0 degrees Fahrenheit or Celsius outside. It's going to be cold, but that doesn't mean that there is no temperature. Then if we move on to the ratio level of measurement here, where we would say in this particular one, we are saying that there is a true zero. In other words, if I have a 0 here, that means I have an absence of quantity. So if I have 0 siblings, then that means I don't have any siblings. Okay, that's kind of the difference between the two, interval and ratio. Additionally, when we think about our ratio level of measurement here, if I can perform some sort of multiplication or division on this variable, that's going to be considered a ratio, which makes sense to me because I think of a fraction. So with a ratio, you have a true zero, which means the absence of quantity. On an interval level, the meaning of 0 does not mean the absence of it. In other words, it has meaning. So let's see if we can practice these levels of measurement. Here I have 4 examples, and we want to determine whether or not what the level of measurement is, I should say, for each of them. So nationality. If I wanted to talk about nationality, let's say we have Spanish, German, Italian, or French. Well, nationality, it doesn't matter what order I put that in. There are categories, so I would say that this would have to be a nominal level of measurement. What about a seal's body temperature? Well, I can measure that body temperature, and that body temperature is going to have an even number of increments, right? Between it. Maybe another way to consider this one would also be, could there be a 0 body temperature, right? If there was 0 for a body temperature, then that would have to imply no body temperature for ratio. So since the 0 body temperature has to have meaning, we would say that that would be interval. What about the number of days studied during the past week? Well, 0 days studied means no days studied, so that has to be ratio. And then finally, a letter grade earned in your statistics class. So the letter grade earned in class, that has to be ordinal, right? Order does matter, A, B, C, D, F. So to summarize that, when we think about a variable, if it's only going to categorize it and that's it, that's going to be nominal. If that category allows for ranking of that variable, we move on to ordinal. For interval, do the differences in the value of the variable have meaning, but the value of the 0 does not mean the absence of quantity? The absence of quantity idea is generally what I fall back on in both interval and ratio. So with the interval, does the 0 have meaning for an interval? Whereas on a ratio, if I have 0 of things, that means I have no things, so that ends up having to be ratio. And these are the 4 levels of measurement.